Which ones do you want?
The ones you said last time. They were really lovely.
The religion one?
Yeah.
I prayed for him. Every night I prayed. I wept with my hands clasped and begged God for mercy. And now he's back, and I am atheist, and the sky is empty. If I were religious, I'd pray that he leave me again. But I know even if I were to do that, I'd barely get the words out. I'd pray and hope secretly there was no God, that my pleas are just messy and incomprehensible, an insincere declaration of my own dignity. Let him go, let him go, let him go. God cannot hear you. The sky stays empty. I'm not a religious woman, but I know I will be when he leaves me again. Okay, this one's not one I've read to you before. There's not a start to it. It's just because. It's just how I wrote it.
Yeah, but that's a good line. You don't have to write the all the time.
Because if everything is a competition, eventually you stop having the courage to participate, and you start resenting everyone else quietly from the comfort of your own room for their successes, attainable successes that you feel you don't deserve because you're too scared to try. That's why there's a grammatical error. And you to start?
Right.
That's why. Okay. Who taught you that it was never okay to love yourself? Who taught you to beg to be loved? You clasp your hands together under the moon and all her stars, and you plead and plead for reciprocation from a man with blood coursing through his veins no different than your own. Who taught you to crave such brutalities, such violence? Who taught you that it's all you'd ever know, or you'd ever deserve to know? Wounded people shouldn't ask for more wounds, nor should they beg for them. Wounded people should be held and loved gently in the way they've never been before. And then, this one's depressing, but at some point you have to accept you will be alive at the end of the year. You'll see it through and cry a little sometimes, a lot, and stare at the ceiling for hours at a time. You continue your routine, miserably, and you try not to hurt yourself when you've been clean for months. You'll work and drink to cope and live very mundanely. This cycle will not be interrupted by death. You'll try to speak it into existence and it won't work. We persist, for if you don't, you ruin every version of you in this lifetime. You damn each memory. Every second you ever spent on this earth will be reduced to how you chose to leave it. The people you love may never forgive you. That's worth the suffering. Your suffering isn't beautiful, but your survival is. However you might go about it, your survival is.
That was really good.
The last one. I have the cat one. What? This one's long.
That's cool.
But this one's probably my favourite one.
Yeah.
There's quite a few small things in life I've grown to appreciate with age. Beautiful simplicities that typically go unnoticed. As I change and take shape, the world finds a way to flourish with me. Or to put it more truthfully, I change with it, for it was here before I. Growing up, one of the first things I learned to appreciate was animals. Something small and furry to love unconditionally in return for companionship and partial loyalty. I've loved cats and always will continue to do so, triumphantly. There's a bittersweetness to having a cat curled up at your feet when you've finished a heavy crying session. The world is ending, The wallowing in self-pity, pillows damp with tears, just to be grounded by a bug-eyed creature staring up at you, the picture of innocence. A funny imagery, really. 30 minutes of exaggerated hormonal turmoil just to be met with 8 pounds of confusion. Then suddenly, the world is okay again. And you feel a little foolish, but now you can breathe properly through your nose and you can speak words of soft comfort to something other than yourself. This tiny little being made it all manageable again, because in that room, the air thick with unnecessary self-content, they are at the very centre of your universe. Small eyes meet yours with such admiration, anticipating a warm hand to scoop them up and pet them to cat drunkenness, and just then you're at the centre of their universe too. At around 16, I started to notice the unusual pace my childhood cat had become accustomed to. The bounce in her walk had long gone, and she instead tread along with such accuracy, as though she was so fragile a jarred movement would break a delicate limb. She would curl up at my feet, routinely, as she always had done, and sat there, observing with expectancy and accusations of failing to love her sufficiently glossing her eyes. I fear for a while I'd been selfish in not noticing how frail she'd come to, this fur child of mine so porcelain all of a sudden. Still, when I cried and she was there, I continued to scratch at the small under her ears where the now grey hairs poking through had previously been jet black, a once defining characteristic of her youth. The contrasting colour saddened me in a way I didn't expect. I knew she was going to age, as do I know I'm eventually going to die, but to see it, proof, evidence of such an incomprehensible topic, one I can hardly speak a word of without a notable shake in my voice, unearthed such an inconceivable heaviness from within my chest. We change as we continue to grow up, whether it be minimal or drastic. My cat, Teddy, grew small patches of grey hair and never once let me sleep lonely, despite the leap up on my bed being quite the demanding task for her age. I, now 18, wait upon her arrival in place of dismissing her in times I was angry at the world, lonely perhaps, though she knew no different. We still sleep side by side, feeling maybe a little helpless together, except now I'm a bit older and a bit wiser, I hug her a little bit tighter. I'm no expert or qualified life coach, but I advise anyone and everyone that's read this with open eyes to hug everything a bit tighter. Cats, dogs, people, plants, all of it. We're ever changing, continuously twisting and turning in our molds and competing to be more impressive, to produce more advanced this and that. The one thing that needs to persist, is the fact that humans are completely capable of such a great kind of love. The one thing that needs to persist is the fact that humans are completely capable of such a great kind of love, a deeply human, substantial kind of love. So love without regret and with great enthusiasm, and tell your cats you love them, even if there is a language barrier. Sincerely yours, someone who wishes they could be 12 again to love everything as it deserved to be loved.
That was amazing.
There we go. I think that's everything I have at the minute.
Cool.